Now, I don't do many rest in peace slash breaking news videos, honestly, unless I have something impactful from the person that I want to shed light on. Rob Reiner, all around Hollywood legend, played the role of the greatest ally of all time. And we'll talk about it right now. I'm doing it for GP.
You can't handle the truth.
As the whole becomes a part, I strike to burn, and the flame returns. Here's Johnny.
Welcome back to the channel. Your boy Mac back with some thoughts, with some opinions, with some reactions. Wipe your feet off as you come in, hit the like button if you so choose, and hopefully you stay a while. Shout out to the supporters, and with that said, let's take this walk.
Regarding the death of Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle in their Brentwood home. Rob Reiner obviously being the legendary director and producer who created movies such as A Few Good Men and The Princess Bride. Sunday at 3:30 p.m. We received a report that an ambulance had been called to the home of Rob and Michelle Reiner, and that two deceased people were found inside, a man being 78 and a woman being 68, with lacerations on their throat consistent with a knife. Now, later that night at 7:30, it was confirmed to be Rob and Michelle Reiner. We were told that they were found by their 28-year-old daughter, Romy Reiner. What's interesting about this is that upon finding her deceased parents, she had called the ambulance got there, and she had actually told authorities that there was one specific family member that should definitely be at the top of the suspect list. This family member is none other than Nick Reiner. This came as a huge shock because it's actually seemed like for a while that Nick and his father Rob definitely weren't on the best of terms all the time, but they definitely had a decent relationship to the point where they even made a movie together. They've been in interviews together. So it came as a shock to a lot of people that were familiar with Rob Reiner and his family. There's something that we learned which kind of gives us an insight into what happened leading up to the homicide itself. We're told that there was a Christmas party hosted Saturday night, just a day before the murder, by Conan O'Brien. There were a lot of movie producers, there were a lot of directors there, and we're told by sources closely connected to the case that there was a huge fight between Rob Reiner and his son Nick. This fight was apparently so big that it was extremely difficult for the people around them to ignore. And it just got to a point, we're told, where Nick and his mom Michelle had to leave the event. We don't know what this fight was about, we don't know why the disagreement was so big, but we were just told that it was so explosive that it was really hard to ignore. Speaking of Michelle, Nick's mom, we're told that Michelle, in the months leading up to the homicide, had been telling her friends and family that her and her husband Rob were at her wits' end, and I quote that, their wits' end, regarding Nick and his behavior and his mental health issues and his issues with substance abuse.
Out of respect for the life lost and the way it was lost, reportedly at the hands of his piece of shit son Nick, I'm gonna get straight to my point about Rob Reiner, and I'm gonna keep it entertainment, related. As many legendary things he did in Hollywood as an actor and director, for me and for many, his most impactful role might have been as Mike on All in the Family. You know, the white liberal, the ally, the meathead. Because let's be honest, Archie Bunker wasn't just America's most loved bigot to white people. I mean, you know, most people at least appreciated Archie, whether in the zeitgeist or in retrospective form. You know, he was the mirror to America. And Rob Reiner's character, Mike, served to call out Archie's every insensitive, prejudice-laced, yet often hilarious misstep. What made the character so impactful was how he delivered, being genuinely disgusted and offended while Archie went on those rants. Now, don't get me wrong, Mike's character in the 2010s, 2020s might be part of the allies telling people that black people, you know, might not own IDs or know how to use computers. But, you know, I think there's, you know, never been a greater white ally being displayed to the masses, especially and most importantly during that time, just coming out of Jim Crow, giving insight into how an ally might have handled back then or even present day, battling the way of thinking of prejudiced family members they have to encounter on a regular daily basis, right? It sucks that Rob Reiner, the man, couldn't go out not at the hands of someone he produced from his testes, but peacefully, enjoying the fruits of his labor like we all should. And yes, he was an avid Trump hater in real life, but I don't, you know, subscribe to picking teams and shit in politics. And Trump mentioned that in eulogizing him on X. Wild mess that I don't care to get into, to be honest, but rest in peace. And shout out to the greatest television ally of all time, because growing up as a kid watching the reruns of All in the Family, that's how I'll fondly remember him. But what do I know? Let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe if you like the content, hit the notification bell. And with that said, hopefully you've been entertained and informed while passing this precious time that we have, and hopefully I've earned your sub. I go by the name of Mac. This has been Doing It for GP. Till next time.